Hello there everybody, it is me Leo and welcome back to another video. So today we're back with another speed build and this time we're building a home called the Modern Minimalist Villa. So I built this home for a young artsy up and coming couple. I imagine one of them to be a photographer and the other one to be a stylist, and living with them is one of their younger siblings who is currently pursuing a career as a musician or as a music producer, something like that. It'll make a little bit more sense why I'm talking about this right now, but I originally wanted to call this home the Modern Minimalist Mansion, but this home only has 3 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms, so I felt like calling it a mansion was a little bit of a stretch, so I went ahead and called it a villa instead because I also kind of like the sound of that. But usually I take the time to, introduce the build to you guys, which I did, but in many of my builds where I particularly try to recreate a specific type of architecture, excuse that, I usually take the time to, really explain to you guys the history and give you guys a good idea of the architecture that I'm trying to do. I also try to share with you guys some technical information as well, but for this modern minimalist build, there's really only one thing you need to know, and that is less is more. That's literally all you need to know about modern architecture in general. There's many kinds of modern architecture, but all of them pretty much follow that one principle of less is more. So basically we are trying to go as simple as possible. So for this particular build, I kind of just went with something that was very sophisticated, something that was very let's see, what is the word that I'm going for? Something that is very simple, straightforward, but also beautiful at the same time, if that makes any sense. Because, in modern architecture, there's a lot of emphasis on clean lines and sharp angles and geometric shapes. And I tried to bring that out in this build, I guess. So doing this, I focused less on the clutter and the decoration and a little bit more on the lighting and the space. So you guys can see that for the lighting, I did a very elaborate lighting design, I guess, where I chose a lot of spotlights instead of lights that lit up the whole room. I chose spotlights to highlight a particular item or a particular area of the interior and also the exterior. And for the shape, I tried to do a lot of unconventional levels, I guess. So in the interior, you will see some split leveling. There's this really kind of vague difference between the interior and the exterior. And also on the exterior, you guys can see that I am including these kind of like half levels, levels that are not limited to the preset heights that The Sims has in terms of wall heights. So I kind of did a little bit of experimentation with that because this is the first time that I'm doing this, but I did it using some half walls and putting this kind of like concrete marble slab on top of the half wall. It looks like it's like part of the roof, which I actually really like. It's the first time I'm seeing that technique, so I'm not sure if somebody's already done that before, but I did it like on the house and I also did it on the garage as well, which you guys will be seeing right now. Also, when I started this build, I thought that the front was gonna be on this longer side of the lot, and this side was gonna be where the garage was, because the lot that I chose for this was kind of like facing the road on 2 sides, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, it had the road on 2 sides. So I was like, you know what? I think it'd be good to make like an L-shaped home. but eventually I felt a little bit awkward because as I progressed more and more into the build, it became more apparent that the front of the house was this area like where the garage is. So I ended up moving to a different lot in kind of like the deserty portion of Oasis Springs, which I don't think I've actually built on that lot before. I don't think I've ever built there before, so that was quite interesting. But for the house tour, I moved to another lot in kind of like the more, I guess, exclusive part of Oasis Springs. It's the neighborhood that only has 2 lots. It's the one right next door from the land grab house. So that's that. And at this point, pretty much most of the house is complete. I just added some functional trellises over here because I felt like they were nice as a decorative feature, but also for practical reasons, they help shade out a little bit of the sun, and I just really liked how they looked. And I'm saying that because in modernist architecture, everything has to have a function. You basically have to strip down of everything in the lot or in the house or in your design and basically just leave all of the stuff that's necessary for it to not fall apart. So everything has to be functional. That's why in this build I'm just trying to defend, I guess, or justify my choices, because I'm gonna be like, oh, you know what, this is functional, that's functional. Yeah, it's The Sims, but I also kind of wanted to be a little bit more realistic, I guess. I mean, to be fair, I've always, or recently, I've tried to do more realistic builds, so I felt like doing this modern minimalist build, I had to in some way kind of embody that principle of less is more. But you guys just saw me do that thing with the fence, which is also the first time I'm doing it. Like, I did this really tedious technique of sizing down one of the sculptures that came with City Living and putting it as a part of the fence, and I was like, wow, that is actually so nice and it looks so modern, so I'm really happy with that. It also took me so long to actually do it all around the house, so I only showed the part where I came up with it on the front area, but for the rest I just cut it out. I had to cut out a lot of this build. I'm gonna say maybe 60 to 70% of this build I had to cut out, because believe it or not, you guys, it took me 7 hours to do this build overall. Like, yeah, it took me 7 hours. Like, I have all of the footage and it's like 7 hours, which you would think wouldn't necessarily happen in a modern minimalist build where there isn't that much furniture, but I just put a lot of effort on my choices, specifically with the lighting and coming up with a new kind of, or like a different layout for this home, so that decision-making process just took so long. But right here we have kind of like one of the living rooms in the home. Apologies if you guys can hear all the cars outside. I don't know why. It's like 12 a.m. and there's so much traffic still happening outside my apartment, so apologize if it's inconveniencing you guys. I don't know if that's a right word, but this area right here, it's kind of like the more showy public living room, if you guys get what I mean. There's another one upstairs that's a little bit more casual and for family, but this one is more for like entertaining guests, and I actually really like what I did here because it's kind of like one of those open air living rooms. I mean, technically it's not just open air because I wanted these like glass windows to look like sliding doors, so they had the option of like making it, indoors or making it outdoors. But yeah, I also kind of played with the space, specifically with transitions. So I wanted it to look like all transitional rooms. So this room right here that we're furnishing right now, it's kind of like gonna extend outside to like the deck area, so it doesn't feel like one room is a definite fixed living room, because you extend outside to the deck area. And the same thing happens with many of the rooms, a lot of open floor plans. So I thought that was really interesting. Once again, it's really difficult to come up with that because sometimes you're so used to doing each room on its own, but and like I was really up to the challenge. And you guys can see me actually do the lighting thing right here, where I really take the time to choose items that kind of have this sophisticated elegance and just put spotlights, and that's kind of like the focal point for this particular little area. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Ooh, we are now furnishing the master bedroom. So this room actually looks quite dark. I don't really mind having darker rooms as long as it's got great lighting. I tried to... Oh my gosh, there's a motorcycle. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure y'all heard that. It's so annoying. There should be like traffic rules for that, but whatever. I'm getting sidetracked. So for the master bedroom, I did try to make kind of like a custom modern looking bed. Once again, it's very minimal, like I used a lot of horizontal lines right here. Once again, emphasizing the sharp angles and kind of like the bold shapes and geometry that is pretty preferred in modernist architecture. But I actually really liked how this room turned out. It came out really nice and elegant and almost effortless, kind of, because there's really nothing much in it. It's just a lot of space. I imagine all of the clutter to be hidden in like those counter shelves right next to the bed, but I don't know, I just really liked how this room turned out. It's a little bit dark. I chose lights that don't necessarily light up the whole space, but that kind of makes sense for this build because I did make it for a photographer. So if there's any build that has elaborate lighting, I feel like it would be for a photographer's home. The interior for this is actually really similar to the interior of my Tokyo penthouse builds like about a year ago, or like more than a year ago. So if you guys want to see kind of like a more like a more fun version of this build, I think that one has a very similar vibe overall. I don't think I actually put a ceiling on this room yet. I don't, because I was actually really happy with the effect that those lights that came with Spa Day have on the blank wall behind the bed. There's nothing in it, but I think that having all of that focused lighting really made it a little bit more dramatic. I also did this like transitional area right here in front of the bedroom, and I made it into kind of like a changing area. I actually really like that. There's also nothing in it except for like huge mirrors and just one closet, and I think that's it. I think I throw in a stool as well just to sit on when people are putting shoes. But this is the master bedroom. I don't include the footage of me furnishing the other bathroom, but this is actually such a fun room because this is the first time I'm doing this, but I actually put the bathtub on like a slightly lower level than the rest of the room, and I thought that was just very like luxe, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I was really happy with that. It just felt right, in the space. Speaking of space, great segue there, not really, but you guys will notice that I did try to make an effort to make a different floor plan and floor layout for this build. I just wanted to be unconventional for this one, so most of the bedrooms are actually downstairs and the rest of the living areas are actually upstairs, which is kind of like a flipped version of how we normally have homes. There's also a lot of emphasis on privacy, like the entire property is fenced in and there's only one area to actually enter the house from, and that is like this really small gated area in front of the home. So I thought that was quite interesting to have as well. We just furnished the guest bedroom over here to the right of this room. There's nothing too crazy. It's just a basic guest bedroom for random visitors, but the bedroom that we're furnishing right now is actually the bedroom for the younger sibling, who I imagine is taking a degree in music production or something like that. But I actually really like this room because I think out of all of the rooms in the house, that was the one that had the most personality. It's got a couple of musical instruments and a couple of posters, and I really liked how it turned out. For the garage, I didn't actually make it into like an actual garage. I made it into like a photography studio. I thought that was really interesting. We have the photography object that came with Get to Work, and I don't use that as often as I probably should. I should probably like explore photography or something. That would be really cool to do in like a let's play. But right next to the photography studio in the garage, there's also a laundry area, and the footage of that I also had to cut out as well. But right now we're doing the very large pool area, and in the middle is this really fun kind of like sunken bar, I guess. I've done this in a couple other builds before, but it's been a while since I've done like a sunken pool bar, so I was like, you know what, that's a perfect place for that. I also throw in these colored spotlights. I actually take those out later on because I don't like how they were, focusing colored lights. As much as I really liked the idea of them, I didn't like how it looked overall, because it kind of like made it look more party and less like subtle and sophisticated and effortless. Oh, and we are adding in a couple more furniture items over here outside in the deck area, and I also threw in those fountain waterfall things. I thought that was really nice as well. I didn't intend, or I didn't like sought out to copy or like to be inspired by falling water, but I think that the house itself has a very similar shape to falling water. I didn't really do that on purpose, but if you guys look at it, it's gonna remind you so much of Falling Water by Frank Lloyd Wright. But anyway, working on the kitchen, I feel like I could have made the kitchen a little bit larger. That's the only regret I have. But in terms of the decorating overall, I did just go for something that was very simple and straightforward, not too much clutter, and just really sleek, modern, and kind of, I don't know, like just easy furniture, I guess. Is easy the right word? Laid back? I think easy is a little bit better to describe it, but yeah, it's pretty chill. It's pretty laid back, which I really like. I feel like I should have made this space a little bit larger because I insisted on having that counter island in the middle. I just feel like it completed the whole kitchen. Even though I do make some improvements to this, like I take out one of those stoves because I feel like having two was a little bit excessive. I also changed the floor as well. I changed it to match the wooden floor in this entire room, so it would give it like this whole kind of like single room, single space feel, which I really liked. And I also used spotlights on the kitchen as well. Some people probably are gonna have some issues with that. They're probably gonna be like, oh, it's too dark, oh, I can't see what I'm doing, but I don't know, I just made it look really elegant. And once again, I just went the extra mile to really elaborate on the lighting design for this build, and I'm just really happy with how it all turned out in the end, because like I used to do this a lot in The Sims 3. Story time. I feel like I've talked enough about this build, but yeah, I used to do a lot of like really elaborate lighting in The Sims 3. And The Sims 3 has a little bit more realistic graphic compared to The Sims 4. And back then, when I was just starting architecture school, I think it was like one of my first couple architectural design courses I had to take, I would bring my laptop to school, and I would just play The Sims, because in case you guys didn't know, many of our courses are like literally whole day long courses. They started like 8 a.m. and ended like 8 p.m. if you guys get what I mean. But most of the time I'm just playing The Sims anyway, so I wasn't bored. But holy crap, it took us so long to actually finish our classes, because believe it or not, architecture takes a while to design and to conceptualize. I feel like that's also why it takes me forever to design my builds. But anyway, I would used to bring my laptop at school and I would just play The Sims. And in one of our classes, there was this one kid in class and he comes up to me and he says, "Whoa, what renderer are you using?" If you guys don't know, a renderer is when we make kind of like realistic images of the architecture that we're trying to do. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to render anything. I'm playing a game. I'm playing The Sims. And everybody knows what The Sims is. And he was like, what? The Sims looks so good. I should probably get it for myself. And I'm like, yes, get it. Get it. Yeah, and this was a while ago. This was before I was doing YouTube, but yeah, it was pretty fun. But I missed talking about the upstairs area, but upstairs there's a living room, and then the dining room. That area is a little bit more casual and laid back, because I did intend it for family gatherings and for family, for family time basically. And then there's also a lot of areas on the decks upstairs, like there's a barbecue area and there's another lounge area in front. But right now we're working on the landscaping, and I kind of went for kind of like a more easy breezy landscaping, if that makes any sense. So the pavement, I chose two textures. I chose this gravel and I chose this rock texture. And for the rock texture, I just placed like threesomes of succulent deserty looking plants. And then for the pavement, I put like different trees and some bushes and more succulents. I really wanted to use those palm trees that came with Jungle Adventure, but it didn't feel right. So I went and used this Brazil wood trees instead, which also came with Jungle Adventure. There's also like a nice intimate space outside of the master bedroom for doing yoga and also for a hot tub. I'm not sure if I've already placed the hot tub at this point. So behind this garage area, there is this kind of like really large empty wall. So I was like, what the hell am I gonna put here? I had to be strategic because I didn't want to just put any random piece of art. So I just wanted to have like a nice, simple, modern piece. So I actually ended up putting like a chrome bar instead, which I don't think is an art piece, but it's the most modern wall ornament I can find, and I thought that was really nice, and I hope it'll make somebody giggle when they see it. Once again, continuing in the elaborate lighting design outside as well. I'm really happy with how kind of like sophisticated it all turned out. Really easy, breezy, sophisticated, and I don't know. It also seems really realistic. Like, I could definitely see people wanting to live in this home, and that just makes me so happy as an architect in real life. I feel like I have some creative purpose. But yeah, right here we're finishing off the builds by putting the succulents, and I used all of the available colors for the succulents actually, so that's quite fun, just to give it a little bit more of an interesting vibe overall. Yeah, but that's pretty much it for this build. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the screenshots of the floor plan so you guys can see it in a little bit more detail. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up my commentary right here. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It always helps out a lot if you guys would hit that subscribe button, because that means so much. Also, it's gonna help out the channel if you hit that share button as well, and also leaving a like and a comment is definitely much appreciated as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up my commentary right here. Thank you all so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.